having someone present with you. It's the one, the only Father Mark Davis. On the Mark with Father Mark. Good morning, Father Mark. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone.
And Pat.
Hello.
Hi, Pat. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Great to see and hear you, Father Mark.
It's good to be with you, too. Now, today is the feast day of St. Peter Chanel.
Yeah.
Now, this guy is incredible because he didn't live long. I mean, he only lived, like, it's incredible, like 40 years. And he was a missionary. He did all these things, and I have no idea in his bio where he had the time to be able to invent perfume.
Yeah. Chanel.
Number 5 was a major.
My gosh, there's all the whole bio, every bio I find, there's where did he have the time?
If he was French, we know why he invented perfume.
That's right. Well, he just may have left kind of the recipe for the future.
Yeah, it's something, but boy, God can do anything.
That's right.
So I'm telling you, as a preacher, it is so much easier to preach the resurrection of Jesus Christ when the weather is this sunny and beautiful, when it's the end of April, as opposed we're at the end of March and it's cold and dark and snowy.
Amen.
Really, it is so much easier to say he is risen when it's like that. I did hear a story, though, that on Good Friday, when Joseph of Arimathea came to Pilate, Pilate had questions. He said, Joseph, I don't understand. You're one of the richest people in all of Arimathea, and you spend a sizable amount of money on this tomb for you and your family. Why are you giving it to this Jesus? And Joseph of Arimathea looked at him and said, oh, Pilate, it's not a big deal. It's just for the weekend.
And it was.
And therefore, the first Airbnb was born.
There you go. And look, if you look, they folded their own sheets. I mean, when they came in, those cloths were already folded, set to the side.
And there's another story about a kindergarten class talking about the resurrection, after Easter. And, one little girl raises her hand and says, so what did Jesus say when he resurrected from the dead? And the teacher said, hon, there's no evidence and there's nothing in the scriptures about what Jesus said when, he rose from the dead. No one was there. No one recorded it. And a little boy, I know. Yeah, he resurrected from the dead and he said, ta-da!
From the magician, Father Mark Davis.
Exactly. So it's really interesting. Jesus' resurrection from the dead. Think about it. Everything we've been taught is the most important event to happen in the history of the world. The most important event to happen in the history of the world. It changes everything. It opened up heaven to all of us who believe in him. It proved that God exists and is more powerful than the powers of this world. And there is life after this, that our loved ones are with us in spirit. It changes everything. But on the night of the resurrection that we heard this last weekend, they're scared to death. They're in a locked room, scared to death. After the greatest thing that ever happened, they are scared to death. And even after they all touch him. Yeah. And even though after Thomas is there with them, and they see him and see his wounds and can touch him and they see him physically eat, they still, in the Acts of the Apostles, it's just the apostles, who are there hiding in Solomon's portico, wherever that is. But it says that the rest of the disciples were too scared to be in public, even though the apostles were doing Jesus' miracles. I mean, there was so much of God's power in Peter that his shadow would heal people, but still they were afraid. And John even writes in the second reading, he even writes that here I am in Patmos, which was pretty much an island of prison. And then the Psalm yesterday talks about God's mercy. So it's really interesting and really important for us to remember in these times that, yes, this is the greatest event to happen in the history of the world, but it's not something instant and it's not something obvious. I mean, it took over 250 years from this point for them to even legally be able to be Christian. But see, we got to have faith and hang on, because this is life-changing. It is real, but it's not obvious and it's not instant even to them. I just recounted the scriptures of yesterday, right? Now, yesterday was also Divine Mercy Sunday, and it's interesting that she died, St. Faustina, in 1938 in Poland. Now, I know enough about John Paul II, who lived about the same time, how awful communist Poland was at that time, and we know that the Nazis had begun their reign of terror at that time, and here she is, this religious sister who Jesus appeared to her and talked about God's mercy. And when you think about God have mercy on me, yes, there's an element of forgive my sins, but also just help me. So as we go into this time, all around the world now we are in transition of a new Holy Father. A lot of people have different thoughts. Some people are worried about that. You know, we have an economy that is continuing to try to be able to recover. You know, we have everything going on. We remember the ABCs of divine mercy. Ask for mercy, be mercy, and continually trust in God's mercy. God bless you all.
Father Mark Davis.
Father Mark Davis.
On the mark here on Morning Offering. We'll be right back.